Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you know that. I just like to remind myself how blessed and how grateful I am to be sitting in this chair. Folks, when we went to 5 days a week with our content, you all stepped up like crazy. And I know you've heard me say this before, but when I pushed it and went to 7 days, you guys just, you responded. Thank you so much for what you've done for us here at the show. Our Sunday episodes are some of our best now because of you folks. So I'm very, very grateful. If you're not out there doing what you're doing, I don't get to sit here and do what I'm doing. So thank you. Now, if you're a friend of the program, you know what comes next. We got to pay a couple bills. So let's get a sip of our preferred beverage. Man, that's fantastic stuff. That's all right. My guest is joining me right now. Here we go. All right. You guys all know what we're drinking. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up. Check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They brew a mean cup of Joe. It's absolutely fantastic. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans. It's one of the biggest reasons why we support them, including our guest today. If you're a veteran out there, thank you for your service. We love you, and I'm glad you found a home here with the Power Man podcast. You guys are always welcome. Go check them out, Freedom Hill Coffee, at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram, and tell them Power of Man sent you. Now, let me get one more sip of this so I can try and keep up with this young buck on the other side of the table from me. All right, here we go. Definitely be drinking that throughout the episode. Here, let's rock and roll. He does not want a big long intro, so he's not going to get one. Here we go. Please welcome Tim Thomas from Australia. He's going to talk to us about sleep and nervous system repair and some stuff like that. And I'm going to just let him run this part of it. So, Tim, how are you? Welcome to the show, brother.
Rory, I'm so glad to be here. I was really looking forward to meeting you, spending time with you, and I got a good feeling about the time we're going to spend together. I am so pumped. I've spent my day gets divided up into thirds. One third I invest into this vessel, and then two thirds I invest into other vessels. And I find it works really well like that. Like you mentioned veterans. I've been in veteran recovery for about a decade, having served myself. And I was doing it wrong for a period of time because generosity is such a powerful biohack when you help others and they say that they're really appreciative of that. What that I ended up using helping others as a bit of an opiate, a pain relief for my own pain. Uh, and and that doesn't mean I wasn't doing good work. Like I actually had a goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide. That was my goal because in Australia, that's how many we've lost to bombs and bullets. A lot of those guys I knew, right? But we'd lost probably 30 times that amount to suicide, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, look, I don't care if I work the rest of my life. I'm going to die happy if I can save 40 guys from suicide. And and that goal was actually achieved within a year. Within a year because we set programs up that the measure of success was how much it improved sleep quality. And that sounds really easy to say, but to actually do it is another thing altogether because we noticed that once guys got out of fatigue, their own internal compass just switched on. So so it was really powerful to get swept up in that. But what behind the scenes, what nobody knew was every 6 or 7 weeks, because I was doing generosity wrong, I was giving of myself. I wasn't giving of my abundance, you know. Um, every 6 or 7 weeks, I'd have to write myself off with alcohol for about 3 days. And that would sort of be my way of somehow finding balance. And then I could go again. So when I say I divide my day up into thirds, um, if 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 I invest a third of my day in me and what really lights me up, then I can give of my abundance. I don't give of myself anymore. Uh, uh, because in those times when I was giving of myself, I noticed that if I was adequate, if I was at 100% and I gave 10% away to somebody, there's a part of me that said, "Hey, I'm down to 90%. You better do something with that." I'd have expectations on my actions.
Hmm.
But if I accessed my own body first and create an abundance, if I created 500% more than I needed, I could give 20% away each day and I could do that consistently, you know? So knowing and just sort of tying all those loops in, knowing because it's quite early in the morning, this light that you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the sun coming up in Australia right now. So to have, I knew I was going to see you early, so I thought, well, I'm going to get up early and get my third of personal investment in me. And I intentionalized it, knowing I'm going to speak to you and your audience, so I could bring the best of what I have and have it reach their ears.
Nice, nice. Now, you talk about getting 500% of yourself. Um, I assume you're going to dig into how you
Mm.
do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is the beautiful thing about being in this human meat bag. Okay, when we were made, and if whether you want to call it God or human intelligence, when He made us, He put a very unique thumbprint on us, a very unique energy signature, as I say it. So I believe it's our role, especially as men, to find those, to firstly understand that energy is like money. How you invest it is how you get it back. And every man has a unique energy portfolio. So there's things that you invest, say, $10 in that you get $1,000 back from. And you've got to find the things that return really well for you. And they're not always comfortable things, but the return on them is the key. So me, I like cold exposure. Okay, so literally outside of my bedroom door, I've got an ice bath. And so before my thinking mind kicks in, I'll just stumble out of bed, fall into that. And there's a part of me going, what the F am I doing this for? But I've learned that, you know, $10 worth of energy there gives me $1,000 back, and I'm focusing on the $1,000. Some people like lifting, some people like breathing. I like breathing. Some people like playing a guitar. Whatever that is, when you've sort of feeling lit up, and I know when I'm in that abundant state, my sense of humor kicks in.
Hmm.
Things aren't so serious. I can tell as many dad jokes as I want, and I think it's funny, and that's the main thing. You know, so creating, finding those things. Treat your energy like a shares portfolio. Find the things that you invest into that give you a massive return. And if you can you don't have to do much, but if you can consistently integrate them into your day, you're operating from this position of strength and power that you simply can't access unless you have that capital. Okay, and my goal for all men is to live like energetic millionaires, because there's a very big difference walking down the street with a couple of dollars in your pocket than $1 million in your pocket.
Oh yeah.
And that state of energy gives you not just confidence, but also confidence in the future, knowing that I know that doesn't mean there's not tough times ahead, but whatever's taken, I can put it back in. I can become a millionaire again. And I'm saying this, Rory, because I've been that guy that someone, and I got pretty thick skin, I'm pretty stubborn. When someone's taken something from me, say 50 cents, but at the time I only had 75 cents. So if someone took from me, hurt me, did the wrong thing as I saw it, and I only had 75 cents and they took 50 cents, I'm like, that is a massive withdrawal. And I've spent years chasing that 50 cents, completely forgetting the fact that I could become an energetic millionaire the next day. And this is where we tap into this wonderful thing that God gave us, this physical body of ours, and we find out like, oh wow, I never knew that if I did this with my physical body, it gave me such a massive return. And
Interesting.
that's when life becomes joyful. That to me is where you get the fruit of the spirit. You access your own physical meat bag and do those things with it when you can get, peace, love, joy. And that's those daily things that you can do. So what I'm trying to say is, knowing that I was going to see you early, I got up extra early, did my stuff so I could be in a place and and have that sort of energetic rapport.
Love that. Now, in terms of what you're talking about here, I know a lot of it's concept, but you're talking about putting this into practice in reality for men all over the world, which is awesome. Now, I know a lot of what you do is working through breath work and sleep. Is that where this starts?
Yeah, because a lot of men are already doing lots of work. They can't really work much harder because they've sort of filled their life with all these things that they feel they need to do. Um, so what I encourage people to do is don't try and do more, try and improve the quality, excuse me, quality of your sleep. And this is where a lot of guys don't understand the power they've got underneath their own skin. Um, because I was one of those guys that couldn't sleep, saw a doctor, and they threw a pharmacy at me. I was, as they call them, a zombie veteran. For six, right? I know breath work could bring, I could get back to sleep. I could create healing in my body, presence of oxygen, absence of disease. So, and I'm not anti-pill per se. Sometimes they can be the lesser of two evils. My then wife was saying she was going to leave me if I didn't take them at the time.
Mm.
And I do call her my then wife, not my ex-wife, because I stand for a positive future. And I notice whenever I say ex-wife, there's a whole lot of charge around that. So for me to give it a new future, I give it what most people say ex-wife, my then wife. Um, and so, yeah, at the time, she was saying she was going to leave me if I didn't take it. So I started taking these things. And there's a benefit to taking pills, but there's a massive cost that no one tells you about. Uh, um, I don't remember a lot of those. I think got washed out as well. Um, and they also don't tell you how hard it is to get off these things. And they especially don't tell you your own body, your own breath can do a better job um, than a lot of these pills that they give you.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. The you're talking about, it sounds like you're talking about a lot of different energy work. Is that the type of stuff that you've gotten into?
Well, you can divide it up into two things. There's things that activate your parasympathetic, which is you relax, wind down, go into a cave, and I'm happy in my cave. You know, F the outside world. I'm happy here, right?
Right.
Parasympathetic, happy place. And then there's your sympathetic, where you're getting outside the cave, you want to hunt, you want to fight, and all that sort of stuff. So so because there's sort of all these blurring lines where we've essentially broken the natural light cycle, we have evolved for millions of years to have you know that light cycle working during the day, light cycle sleeping at night. Because we've actually been exposed to all this artificial stuff, we've broken the natural cycle of rest, work, rest and digest, go out and hunt, and that has impacted the quality of our sleep because we're giving it all these mixed signals. And what do I mean by mixed signals? Is looking at phones, screens, those sorts of things trip out your brain saying, oh, it's daytime, we should be working. And then, but your body's like, no, no, we're tired. Um, so when I think energy systems, there's a bunch of woo-woo around this, but I basically divide it into two. The ability to rest, feel good, want to connect to my loved ones, and the ability to get out, kick ass, chew bubble gum, conquer the world. And then having that gear in between. And I found that breath work is that gear in between, the thing that can change you from, one state, to the other. Uh, a a lot of and when they come home, they just want to be left alone for the first 30 45 minutes, because that's them changing out of their outside the cave to inside the cave. Because outside the cave you got to put your armor on and get ready to fight. Then inside the cave, when you come in, you want a little bit of time just to take that armor off so you can connect softly to your loved ones. But if you've got a partner that doesn't understand that and they're like, "Da, da, 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 da," and you're like, hang on, let me just take my armor off, I want to connect with you, you know so being responsible for that, like stopping the car before you get home and doing a bunch of breath work, getting high on your own supply, going, you, this is good, man. I'm ready I've accessed my own, I'm responsible for my own parasympathetic, getting ready to go inside the cave. And now I can engage with my loved ones from a position, and I'm not putting on them or having expectations that, hey, you're supposed to understand this invisible energy shift that's going on inside of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. The so in order to start working with this for guys, because I mean, there's guys out there who are going to hear you and go, "Hey, this sounds great." I could definitely. I wish I felt that way. I don't feel this way now. They're going to be going, so how do I start? What's a
Yeah,
first
yeah.
step for me? What do you say to those
Okay.
guys?
Well, less is more. Okay. A lot of people, especially when they're hurting, want Superman to swoop in and make all the difference. I've been there. I was that guy, and that's where the outside world said, "Yeah, we'll fix it everything in this pill." Okay. And there's plenty of marketers out there that'll tell you this, right? But the easiest way to do it is actually doing what I call micro habits. So very simple things like doing breath work in bed, going to sleep, doing breath work at 2 a.m. when your head's doing those ones, having that as your go-to, and then doing breath work getting out of bed. So what breath work will do, we can literally tonight turn your bed into a cloud. So you're sleeping better, your body's regenerating better. Um, and when you wake up in the morning, breath work can turn that bed into a trampoline. And this is the power our own body has that no one tells you about because essentially no one's making money from it. If you look at it, Rory, there's a whole economy based on us not knowing what our sovereign, the power, God gave us underneath our skin. If we don't access that, the outside world will go, "Well, that's great. You don't know what your body can do. Here, I'll sell you a pill." Okay. There's plenty of alcohol. There's plenty of coffee. There's a financial cost to our ignorance. If I can't generate energy myself, I think it's like over $400 billion spent on coffee each year. You know, like that to me, that shows there's an energy shortage somewhere. And I'm not saying coffee's bad, but I'm saying you got to be careful because um, people forget that things outside of us have a have an intention. Okay, and I'm not begging out Freedom Hill Coffee here. Don't get me wrong, but I just need to get people aware that if we don't generate our own energy, the outside world will give us a short-term loan, and then we got to pay that back with interest. And what ends up happening, and the reason why I only have coffee on special occasions, is because I was in an abusive relationship with coffee. And this is what happens with the outside world. And let me break this down. So there's something that we can't give ourselves, so we look outside of ourselves, and the outside world will go, "Hey, I'll meet that need." Yeah, it's abusive relationships never start with abuse. They start with sweet promises, a needs being met, but then over time, the joy of interacting with that thing gets replaced with pain of non-compliance. If I didn't do what that coffee bean wanted me to do, and it wanted me to drink it all the time, it would punish me with, achy bones, cold and flu-like symptoms. And I'm like, oh, geez, if I don't have that coffee, it's going to punish me. I'm like, crap, I'm in an abusive relationship right now. I've got to get my power back. So I like coffee, but I want it to work for me and not, I want it to serve me, not me serve it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And a lot of us drink it because
And if you could,
we like it, but hey, we still need it. That's the reality of it. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot talking about giving up your coffee, man.
well, put it this way, ask the question, and this will find out whether you're in an abusive relationship or not. If you didn't take it, would you be in pain, discomfort, and make everyone's life around you really hard?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Now, I'm not saying don't take coffee. There are ways to have coffee that are particularly beneficial to your brain and health function. But I would say this, if you could access your own energetic resources first and then engage, there'd be less dependency.
Hmm. And all that is done
So if you could,
through,
if you could, if you could energize your system, yeah, breath work, believe it or not, presence of oxygen, absence of disease. There's not a,
hmm,
if you want to die early, you breathe poorly. If you want to live longer, you breathe fully. Half breathe, half live.
interesting. I know you have an app for this, and the Breathwork in Bed is the name of the app, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And so if guys are looking at this and they're checking out your app, is it walking them through how to do the breath work correctly? I mean, is it educating them on why? I mean, what tell us about the app and why somebody wants to go get it.
Sure. Well, I made it for people that are busy and they don't have time to do a bunch of new stuff. So I've set it up so all you need to do is tell it when you want to sleep and when you want to wake up. Once you sort of put that information in there, it'll just fall out of your phone, easy and effortless. Because I'm a guy that if it doesn't sort of, if I don't get reminded to do something, I'm probably not going to do it. So if I can have those little notifications falling out exactly when I need it, and I can go tap, tap. So this is the genius here. Okay. The genius is having it accessible when you need it, how you need it consistently. So what's going to happen is once you go in there, there's a 28-day free trial period, and you tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, then all of a sudden you get these little notifications that you tap and press play on that will show you how to breathe a certain way to go to sleep, to turn your bed into a cloud.
Hmm.
And then it is your best friend at 2 a.m. if you can't get back to sleep. And then in the morning, it turns your bed into a trampoline. And those two little micro habits, if I was to say what's the best thing you could do for anybody, would actually be to improve their sleep. And it seems kind of mundane to say that, but let me say this. In the special forces, we used to target our enemy's sleep. We didn't know anything about the science of sleep. We didn't know that the brain at nighttime actually um, excretes. Okay, we eat and we poop. Okay, at nighttime your brain poops, but it sits in this blood-brain barrier, and if you're not getting 8 hours quality sleep, your spinal fluid goes up into your brain and allows your brain to poop. So if you're waking up feeling crappy, there's a good reason for that. But if so, yeah, so you
Hmm.
literally you got crap in your head because you haven't allowed your brain to poop. And we didn't know any of this in the special forces, but we knew if we denied the enemy sleep for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet. So if you look at the damage you can do to somebody from denying them sleep, if you say you care about somebody, you would genuinely care about how they sleep.
Hmm.
And if you care about yourself, this is the springboard that we need to give ourselves is that bed. But most people's sleeping habits, instead of having a springboard, is like a black hole. Oh crap, I've got to get through another night. This pill's not working. This pill's not working. And
Yeah.
again, no one will tell you that the answer is actually underneath your own skin. And what people discover is that we don't own a set of lungs. Okay, we were given a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. So when I'm working with high school students, I show them to breathe a certain way to get past their exam stress and focus on their academic function. When I'm working with executives, I show them a breathwork technique that works better than coffee in the afternoon. When I'm working with a busy mum that only gets a certain amount of sleep at night because of the baby, I'll show them how to breathe to maximize whatever sleep you get. So there's as whatever situation they're in, there is a breathwork technique that is associated to it. Um, you know, Chinese for thousands of years have been saying, control your breath, control everything. And it's one thing to say it and it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to give genuine tools. And I said this in the preamble, Rory. I've spent the last 2 years and over 50 grand creating this online resource. So if people go, you know what, I want to give that a try, it's a guided experience, feet in first, and when you need it most. And what's going to happen is as you invest in the quality of your sleep, you're going to wake up with more energy capital going through your day. So I can't do what you do or your listeners do, but if I can improve the quality of your sleep, you're going to bring your gifts into the world even better. So that's sort of the tack I go into when it comes to energy work. It's not about wringing more life out of your daytime hours. How about we just trust yourself that you're working hard enough and work on the quality sleep restoration.
Nice. Nice. With everything you've done in your background, how'd you end up coming into this to where, this became such a passion for you and you wanted to learn about it and then teach other people?
Oh, Rory. So I was, meditating on this mountaintop and it was misty and this light appeared above me. I'm completely kidding. Okay.
I was going to let you go on with the story as
I
long as
know,
you
right?
wanted
It
to.
sounds so good. I wanted to be like that, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
All right. So, again,
No, I was,
how'd you come to this, Tim?
yeah, look, I was effing effed in the dirt of Afghanistan, beyond fatigue, beyond caring, thinking I'm going to die. I'd seen my mates die. Um, and I'm like, there's no point. What's the point? Nobody gives a crap. And I had a young family at the time. I'd spent a lot of time away from them. And when you're on deployment outside the wire, and this was Afghanistan 2009, you're in a group of guys going through the same stuff. So when we're not fighting the enemy, we're fighting each other. When people are in low energy, they need energy, and they'll often try and take it from others. So my boss had just chewed me out, and I was just a private. I was getting paid to do what everyone else told me to do, right? Um, I got chewed out by my boss, and he gave me a punishment. He says, go on sentry duty, which is just basically staring at rocks. And I remember in this moment, my bottom lip was in the dirt, and I'm like, Tim, it's like you've only got 2 cents worth of energy. What's the point? Uh, and then after a dark night of the soul, this voice came in saying, Tim, if you've only got 2 cents worth of energy, you better invest that energy wisely. And something they teach us when we want to hit a target with our rifle, they'll tell you to take a deep breath in, exhale slowly, take up the first trigger pressure, right? And so what I would do, we'd never get anything that you'd call sleep, but instead of just crashing into the dirt, I would focus on my left thumb and I would breathe. I'd pretend there's like a pin at the top of my thumb and I'd be breathing air through the top of my thumb, down my thumb. I'd never done this before. It just I felt guided to do it. And then I kept breathing into it. And eventually this thumb illuminated, like it started glowing in my mind's eye, right? This is in my mind's eye. It's like my nervous system was saying, this is now lit up. And then I'd go from my thumb to my pointer finger, put a little pin hole in the top of my pointer finger and, suck it in. And then eventually I'd do it to my whole hand, pull it up my arm into my body. And I didn't understand what was going on. What I understood though was I when I woke up, that 2 cents turned into 20 cents. And then I kept investing that 20 cents into $2 into 20, 200, 2000. And I got to this point where I had more than I needed and I could invest in my body. Like it's not like we weren't busy over there, but I'd do extra push-ups, grab an ammo tin, do some jump squats, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm feeling good right now. But here's the thing, I was in a team of guys. And if the people around me were having a bad day, I was having a bad day. And so I didn't know breath work was a thing and I couldn't show it to anybody. It was just working for me. But as I started getting out of inadequacy to abundance, I could then be of service to others. So I started making coffee for people. And it was real coffee. Um, and but the thing stopping me, Rory, was in the special forces, there's a very special social dynamic that and there's a lot of alpha males in there. And if you're a little bit insecure as an alpha male, if you do an act of service to another alpha male, then you're below him. You're his servant. It's kind of this entitlement thing, right? And I knew that if I started making coffee for people, I'd be called the brew bitch. And I'm like, there's no freaking way someone's getting politely knocked the F out if someone calls me the brew bitch. Um, but but I had to understand that I had to understand the power of servanthood, not servitude. There's a big difference, servanthood to servitude. Um, and it didn't matter if I liked or hated the guys. It made a lot of sense to strengthen those around me. And I had to go to a war zone to realize when the person next to me is stronger, I'm stronger. My survivability goes up. Who do I want around me when good times turn bad? Do I want disempowered, cranky people? And I get to be right because they're pricks anyway, right? But I'm like, no, let's drop the ego, get into the power of servanthood, and bring them coffee. So here happened, Rory. I would be doing my breath work, and I'd be getting more and more sort of advanced in my own way to illuminate this body with breath, waking up feeling better, and out of that abundance, I could then bring coffee to people. They called me brew bitch. Okay, it didn't sit well, but I'm like, hey, the advantage of living in close quarters to people is um, you get to see how they interact with stuff. So there we were in the middle of a war zone, and I could see these guys. They were arguing with each other, this team. And then, one guy would crack a coffee and take a first sip, and then he realized, oh, this is really good coffee, and he'd take a rapid second sip. And then he would sort of, his body posture would change, and he would look up to the horizon. And here's the thing, he would take a really deep breath. And as he exhaled, his body transformed from being in a war zone to being in a coffee shop back home. And everything just stopped. The arguing stopped, the noise stopped, the tension stopped. And these guys were just having this cup of coffee, in this place of peace. And that's when I saw the power of servanthood.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So you're exposed to this. This hits you like this. This is while you're serving that this is hitting you. Yeah. So what makes you want to take this next step, build this, business, this app, and share it with everybody else?
Well, again, this is not something I imagine myself doing,
Hmm.
but I think if if God wants to use you, he throws you obstacles to get over, because once you get through those obstacles, you become useful. And the this started in 2011 April. I was about to kill a man. Okay, the Australian government wasn't paying me. I was going to do this one for free. This would have been murder. I'd reached rock bottom. I had PTSD. Didn't know it. I just knew the family was falling apart. And then the then wife said, "You've got to see a psychologist," and that made no sense to me because I don't trust this guy. Why do I want to talk to some bloke I've never met yet, right?
Right.
And but what do I know? Apparently, I'm crazy. I'm the one that's causing all these problems. So I go and see this guy, and I pay good money to go see him. And at the end of, and look, I can handle someone who's not particularly good at their job, okay? Because not everyone's competent. He wasn't just incompetent, he was completely apathetic. Like he just didn't give a shit. This guy was just collecting paychecks for retirement.
Wow.
Um, and and after I told him, it was particularly hard for me to tell him all the stuff that I saw in service. And at the end, this is what he did. Oh, you think it was a problem with your mum and dad? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Now, no, shit. This happened. This happened, right?
Oh my
And
God.
I tell you now, Rory, the whole room froze. That second on the clock, tick, 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 went kunk, and I became innately aware of everything that was around me, and I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I saw his glass frame psychology degree behind him, and in my state of disconnect, it made a lot of sense to me to feed it to him, because this guy is proclaiming to be a healer, and he's not just not healing, he's hurting people. So I'm doing everyone a favor to remove him from this system. And I get out of my chair to do this. And there's not a damn thing anyone on this planet could have done to stop me. I got a certain skill set. So I'm like, okay, this is happening. I get out of my chair. And that's when I feel this hand on my chest and the words red flag. Red flag. I don't know why. I've never heard those words before. Red flag. Tim, you are the toughest mofo you know. And you are struggling in this system that doesn't seem to care or understand or even want to help people. Ask yourself, how many other people are in this same situation? And I felt completely lost. I sat back down, but Rory, that's when I saw him. I saw hundreds of thousands of people left and right of me, stuck in the same situation I was in, trying to get help, but in a system that doesn't seem to want to heal you. And they're saying, Tim, if you can find a way forward for you, you can find a way forward for us. And I said, look, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but it doesn't matter if it takes a week, a month, or a decade to find a way forward. I've got to do this because I feel that's the amount of time I'm going to be able to save them. If I can find a way forward for me, I'll find a way forward for them. And that moment, seeing those people left and right of me, and I invite everybody listening to draw this to them. I came to this from the veteran space, but everyone's up against something. Think of the thing that you've been blessed to be up against. Okay. Could be cancer, could be a bad relationship, could be whatever it is. The question we need to ask ourselves, the thing that will break our isolation, is how many people are in the same situation? And don't, that's not rhetorical. Give it a real number. So it could be 10, could be 100. In my idea of people struggling in the veteran space, I thought at least a million. So I had 500 to my 1,000 to my left, 500 to 1,000 to my right. And then you can break your isolation because it's not the pain we can't handle, it's the feeling of being alone in the situation. And that's so potent. I need to say that twice. We can handle pain, but it doesn't matter if the pain's emotional or physical. It'll get to a certain point without us even knowing, thinking that we're all alone in this. And loneliness is the killer. That's the biggest disconnect. Conversely, if you can give a number to the people up against the same obstacle you're up against, then you can break your isolation. Now, in my case, it was a million. And everything changed after that because I was no longer, one in a million. I was a million in one. So it didn't matter if I made an inch of progress over a week, that's a million inches of progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit got real powerful after that, because I've got these people left and right of me willing me on, and everything was times a million. It took me 6 years to find a good psychologist. That was a victory for a million people. And within that space, I started working with veteran charities. And on the concept of the goal here is to break isolation, because remember, fatigue's the killer here. And you don't see this on the spreadsheet. Sorry, isolation is the killer combined with fatigue. And you don't see that on the spreadsheet. Millions of dollars get poured into mental health, but if you're not breaking someone's isolation they're feeling and their fatigue, it's like water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had nothing other than lived experience, and I was making more progress, making more impact than all these multi-million dollar sponsored programs, because we simply broke isolation and we got people out of fatigue. And then this sort of magical compass turned on inside of people, and they knew exactly where they needed to go, you know? So working in the veteran space, working with research facilities. I've done an amount of charity fundraising for certain research facilities. This was my pathway into asking the ultimate question, which was, what's the best thing you could do for another person, and how do you actually give people access to it? And to me, in my experience, the best thing if you want to destroy someone, destroy their sleep. Conversely, if you want to build someone up, build their sleep up. And so the most natural and immediate way I found, like, breathwork is just a tool. I didn't think I was going to do it. I'm like, okay, if this works, let's just get hitting that button. If this is working, let's just keep doing it. I wasn't attached. I didn't have the academia trying to prove myself. As a soldier, I wanted something that worked and worked straight away. And breathwork was one of those consistent things that just worked every time. It didn't just work with me. It worked with people in extreme states of duress. And that then said, well, it took me a long while to find something that actually worked. But then once I found it, I had to ask the question, how do I give access to people on a large scale? And, the pattern I saw was, everyone's got a phone. if I can put a resource on there that tells you, that prompts you to breathe a certain way to go to sleep and breathe a certain way to get out of bed, it's a good day to be alive. So anyone listening to this right now could literally pick up their phone, put in 3 words, breath work, 1 word, in bed, tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and you got access, because your phone and this dinky little resource that I created isn't the high tech thing. Your lungs are the high tech thing. All I'm doing is creating a pathway, a connection. You're going to shake hands with the best friend you're going to have for the rest of your life. You know, which is this set of lungs and what it can do for you.
Nice. Nice. I love that you presented it that way, man. Because that whole thing about being alone. Um, wow, that's powerful stuff because that's what every guy I talk to is dealing with. Just about every single guy that comes through one of our programs is dealing with isolation, feeling like he's the only one dealing with it, being just flat out alone. So appreciate you referencing that in that way.
That Again, we need to speak to that, because no, we need to speak to that more, because this is massive. Because all it takes, because here's what happened with us blokes, right? There's things we want to say, but we feel like we can't say it, and those unspoken words become like rocks around your heart. It's
Uh,
like you can't feel anymore. And I used to drink a hell of a lot of alcohol just so I could feel something. I noticed is us, and I say blokes in Australia, it's men, um, is we need to have another man speak the words we can't speak. And it could be something as simple as a man sharing his story, right? And I noticed, because this is what I used to do in my men's group, was one guy would be, sharing his story in an interview fashion, very similar to this, and you'd see the crowd when they would share something deep. There was a physiological response. Their jaw would open when someone would share something, and a guy had his isolation broken, those rocks around the heart spoken to and dissolved when someone else spoke those words you wanted to hear.
uh,
The jaw would pop open like this, okay, which is really interesting. We got two vagus nerve attachments to the back of our jaw. Vagus nerve is where uh, we control motor function, but it also holds our stress. So it's interesting when the fact that people go, okay. And then words to the effect of, and I'll just use a literal quote here, you'd see the jaw pop open and these veterans would say, fuck, I thought I was the only one. And that statement was the beginning of the healing journey, breaking the isolation. And the problem with being isolated, there's two things. One is that if you're the only one going through this, no one's got your back, you can't drop your guard for a second,
right.
because we're social mammals. Like the best thing that us blokes feel is when you've got my back 100% and I know it, and I've got your back 100 freaking percent and you know it. It's like, bring it on, man. Like there's nothing we can't do. Like,
Right.
okay. And but there's a equal and opposite extreme to the other end. So when I'm feeling all alone, no one's got my back, everything's a threat, because everything is a threat. And if I drop my guard for a second, something bad's going to happen, and it's going to be my fault.
Yeah.
So guess what? We're not sleeping. And you have to understand there's no holding ground here. You're either spiraling down, geez, I feel like crap, I'm sleeping worse, I'm waking up feeling worse, I'm sleeping worse, or I'm knowing how to access my peace and calm through my breath, sleeping better, waking up feeling better, investing. Okay, there's no holding ground here. So breaking isolation, getting people out of fatigue, that's when they started having more energy capital. So just like if you've got surplus income, you can invest it in certain things and see what comes back. But if you don't have surplus income, you protect what you've got, and even that gets taken away from you because you're trying to hang on to it so much. There's a great saying, he who has, more will be given. And if you don't have, what you have gets taken away.
Mhm.
So that's an energetic statement in my interpretation of that. When you know how to invest in yourself, you'll get more. When you don't know how to invest in yourself, if you're feeling all alone, then you'll get less and less. But the other scary thing, and I need to speak to this because there's men listening, is that the conversation that we've seen happen again and again, and I had this myself, so I'm sharing from personal lived experience, is that when you're all alone and you're fatigued, you start having this conversation with yourself like, what do I know right now? I know that I'm in pain, and I can see I'm causing pain to others. And if I look into the future, I cannot see that changing. You know what? Here's a really good idea. I'm going to end the pain to me. I'm going to end the pain to you. And I'm going to remove myself from this situation. And two things happen. People drop off the map and become hermits, or suicide is a real option. And suicide is presented like, oh, I'm doing everyone a favor because I'm in pain. I'm causing pain to others. That's obvious. And when guys come to me like this, I say, okay, if you're committed to killing yourself, I can't stop you. But you need to understand that if you're doing it to somehow make less pain in this world, everyone who knows you, their pain is going to be multiplied by about 1,000. Okay. So don't go thinking you're helping anybody or removing the pain because that's simply not the fact. And then on the back of that, and I invite people to use this in their own sort of arsenal of words, is ask them the question, how many other people do you think are in the same situation? That's the golden question. And then they'll stop and it'll be silent and their eyeballs will start rolling around. And then they'll say, oh, 10, 1,000, 10,000. And once they see that, they get a chance to break their own isolation. And then you can presence them to the idea that, well, if you can find a way forward for you, you can find a way forward for them. There's going to be people in your future, a lot you haven't met yet. They're going to say, I'm so glad that back in 2025, you started moving yourself forward because that's helped us move forward in so much in much less time. Because I can tell you now, if I made a different decision back in 2011 with that guy and I killed that guy, I could have justified it in my own head in my state of disconnect. And this is the thing, when you're feeling all alone, you can justify all sorts of dumb crap. You really can.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and it's that sort of villain hero moment. Is the world happening to me or am I happening to the world? And you have to understand that that obstacle is God blessing you with value to offer to others in the way that it's not what we do. As blokes, we tend to get tied up with, oh, I fix cars. People value me for that, and that gives me value. But it's not so much what we do that gives us value from the perspective of others. It's what we've come through. It's what we've come through that gives us value. And understanding that the obstacles you're going through right now are giving you so much value to all those other people. You just need to open your eyes to see them before they actually happen. And then life occurs very differently when you're a million in one. There's a million people making that call to see that, counselor, men's health, GP, psychologist, going to the gym. There's a million people going to the gym this morning, activating their physical bodies, you know? And if all I had to do was, you know, go for a run, go for a walk, lift something, do some breath work to benefit a million people, would I do it? Because that's sort of the powerful positive, but I had to sort of juxtaposition that to when people are feeling alone, isolated, and that's how suicide becomes like a really answer to a problem that they don't fully understand.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's powerful, brother. Uh, you're hitting the nail on the head, I'm sure. Um, wow. Speaking of breath work, I know that you wanted to try and do some practical
Yeah,
application breath work. But and I know you have a hard stop coming up, so you want to go ahead and show everybody
yeah.
that what
Well,
that is?
yeah. Blah blah blah. Let's do something real. Let's give something to and put in the coffee immediately. All right.
All right. So what needs to be done? What is it you need to do there, brother?
Okay, so the young people, I encourage people to do this, but they just need to be in a safe environment, not driving, seated ideally. And I'm going to show you how in three breaths you can completely relax your body. All right. And this will be a system reset you can access anytime, anywhere, provided you're safe and you're not, operating hard machinery or cutting up carrots. And it's really simple. But, Rory, how many years have you been breathing for?
My entire life. So 55.
Okay, got it. All right. So work isn't hard. You got it. So breath work is not hard, but because you've been doing it your whole life, there's a certain associated pattern to that. So to do anything new, I always ask for permission first. So it's three really simple questions, and this is just to allow us to have a new experience of something we've been doing our whole life. As the saying goes, you can't pour new wine into old wineskins.
All right.
So this is literally some new wine being poured in. So the first question is, do you give permission? And I invite people listening to this to go along with this. Do you give permission for your own breath to fully nourish every cell in your physical body?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Do you give permission to your own breath, full permission to nourish every part of your conscious mind?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do you give permission for your own breath to fully nourish every part of your unconscious mind?
Yes.
Fantastic. So, all we're going to do to start with is breathe in and out. Okay, if you did that, congratulations, you're on your way. That was a conscious breath. Okay, you're aware of your inhale, you're aware of your exhale. Because mental health, in my observation, isn't meant a mental problem, it's a physical disconnect. So when we're feeling all alone, we're focused on all the things out there. We've disconnected from our body, we've disconnected from our breath. And when someone's freaking out at all those things, what does their breath do? Okay. So reconnecting to your breath is a bit like connecting your phone back into the charger. Okay. So now I'm going to show how to get a bit more charge in this. So this time when we breathe in, we're going to breathe in more, 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 more. You got that?
All right.
Okay. So breathe in and then breathe in more, 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 more. Hold it. Wriggle your shoulders, wriggle your shoulders, wriggle, 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 wriggle. Feel it opening up. And if it feels good, let it out with a big sigh. Ah.
Okay.
Okay, the teeth start popping out when we start breathing. Okay. Okay. So where you normally breathe in and out, we'll call that your primary. Where you breathe in more, 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 that will, and a lot of tension, a lot of negative crap is often stored in this secondary area. So watch what happens to my structure. When I get crap in my head, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Life is terrible. And you see those guys walking like they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Hmm.
So you're crushing out your lungs. Um, and you talk about self-fulfilling prophecy. When you're not breathing properly, you're dying early. When you're hunched over, you're looking at the ground, you're looking at the grave. So when you breathe properly, it gives you proper structural alignment. So we don't just get more energy from our breath, we get more energy from being properly aligned because we're an electrical circuit, right? And our electrical circuits aren't solid, they're like squishy hose pipes. And like your garden hose, if you kink your garden hose, there's no water going through. That's how our nerves work. So proper alignment gives you more energy. So when I work with the British Special Forces, they found that um, every degree you're out of alignment, you reduce your strength between 8 and 12%. So every time you breathe in and breathe in properly, that's a boost of 8 to 12%. And I'm working off the minimal idea that you're only 1 degree out. You know what I mean? So I'm going to show you something about your body, and this is what I love doing. I love showing people how amazing we were created. And what a lot of people don't know, Rory, is in our two fingers and thumbs, we have turbo buttons. What? Turbo buttons in our fingers? What's up with that? Okay. So what we're going to do here is when we breathe in and we breathe into it, and then we get to that secondary inhale, I want you to pinch your fingers really firmly together, and that'll boost that secondary inhale. Okay. So I'll give you a little demonstration. So we're going to breathe in and then pinch those fingers really hard and focus on pulling it up into here. Okay. But to start with, we're going to start with an exhale. Okay. So we're going to start this process. Get your turbo buttons ready. We're going to start with an exhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. And then start breathing in. Hit those turbo buttons. Open it, open it. Now hold it and wriggle your shoulders, wriggle, 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 wriggle your spine. Feel that chest opening up, big, strong, proud chest, and let out with a really big sigh. All
right.
Okay, now if you felt something, let that energy do its thing. Your body's energy has an intelligence all of its own. Some people kind of stretch out a neck or they might yawn. This is what energy does, okay? It goes to where it's supposed to go, provided we give it permission, okay? We kind of need to just be in receivership of this and let it do what it does. So now, this secondary inhale, we're going to call that the breath of possibility. Because when things become impossible, oh my gosh, I slump over. But when things become possible, we mechanically change that. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to juice up that secondary inhale by, with our nose, see how I can collapse it down? We're going to double the speed of it and point our nose to the ceiling. Okay, so we can literally open up this space even more. So we're creating deep structural changes to our energetic system, and we're oxygenating as well. And if you look at my nose here, okay, we've all got noses, and behind our noses look hilarious if you focus on them. If you look at someone's nose, it's just hilarious, isn't it? So if you look at my nose, okay, see I'm sort of wriggling it. Behind our noses, we have sinuses, and those sinuses are when I used to be a fighter, I used to fight professionally in the 90s, back when it was before MMA. My coach used to say, before you do a combination, do a big snort through your nose, because that'll pull oxygen straight through to your brain. Now, whether that was based in science or not, I don't know, but it worked in combat. And we can oxygenate our system a lot more rapidly if we really suck it through this nose. So what we're going to do right now is exhale, have your power buttons ready, and then really speed up that inhale by snorting it through your nose as rapidly as possible as you look up. Okay, so we're going to be looking up, breathing in, holding it, and giving it a bit of a wriggle. Cool, cool?
All
All
right.
right. So let's start with the exhale, 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 out, 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 out. You'll be surprised how much you blow out. With your power buttons ready, breathe in rapidly, look up. Open, 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 open. Lean back, feel it open. Now hold it. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Wriggle your shoulders, wriggle your spine. Feel that chest opening up, that strong masculine chest opening up, and then let it out with a sigh.
Wow, man. That's not bad.
And that was just like one breath.
Right.
Okay.
Not
Now,
bad.
Now, I'm going to send you a link, because that's the breath of possibility. So when people are kicking around the place, if things feel impossible, I'm a regular dude. You know, if something's outside pissing me off, I notice, like, I want to punch somebody or I'm trying to stop myself from doing it. I will get in charge of my own chemicals, replace the energy. And I'll do that, one or two times discreetly in public. So this is now your self-medicating button. So just like you're in hospital, you've got a button to call the nurse or hit the morphine or whatever it is. These are now your ability to get back your power, plug back into the charger, which is your own body. So I'm going to send you a link to for a full explanation of that. Plus, that is the breath of possibility. If we had time, I'd show you the breath of peace as well. But
Yeah.
these things are very accessible,
Wow.
and this is your birthright. So that's why I really appreciate the time that you've given us to show you that so people can get at least just a taste. Oh, that felt good. I'll have more. That felt good. It'll start that. Oh, I just want to fill my life with things that are giving me a good return. That's how my breathwork journey started. In absolute fatigue, oh, that felt good. More of that. That felt good. More of that. And then I just started creating this energetic portfolio that puts me in an abundance, and you can be a generous person.
I love it, brother. I mean, that was actually pretty good. Just following through just that little bit. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to check it out. Yeah, please send me the link. I'll make sure it's in the show notes for everybody. And I mean, it seems really simple, but it also seems like it can be pretty powerful if somebody puts it to good use.
Well, imagine breathing, going to a nice place in nature and just spending half an hour doing that particular breath work. It will take you places words can't describe. The
Nice.
reason why breath is so powerful is you've been breathing a lot longer than you've been thinking. So this outranks this. And we take all these drugs and pills and stuff to try and control this, but it's our breath. Our breath outranks it.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to use it in combat. I used to fight guys that were much more skilled than me, but I knew that if I took their lungs out, they'd forget everything in their head and they become like a white belt. So I wasn't fighting a black belt. I was fighting a white belt because I just target this area. I wouldn't punch him in the head. That might make him angry. But if I took out his lungs, this thing got switched off really quickly. And I just highlight that because if you've got a head that you want to get back into a rest and digest mode, this thing here will rapidly bring that about.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate all this, brother. I know you got, other things you got to go do and you got other commitments and you got to go, but any final thoughts, anything I forgot to ask you about, anything like that that you want to just wrap with?
So this is the final wrap up.
Yeah, this is final wrap up, man. You got to get to the
Okay.
other appointment.
Well, look, if anyone could just take one thing away from this, know that we are wondrously made, and your breath is the best connection we have to the spirit. When you breathe fully, when you get that spirit in you and you pull it through your whole system, life becomes very joyful because we are in charge of our own energy levels, not someone else.
Nice. Nice. Empowering, man. Guys need that. Guys absolutely need that. So, all right. I'm going to make sure the links are in the show notes for everybody. And Tim from Australia, brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing. Appreciate why you're doing it. Appreciate who you're doing it for. So, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Well, Rory, my invitation for you is tonight. You download the Breathwork in Bed app, and you can turn your bed into a cloud tonight. Let's not leave this as theory. I can tell you're an intellectual, smart guy, but let's put some rubber to the road here because this is something that you might be surprised how immediate this your body responds to this.
Perfect. Love it, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. How can everybody reach you, find your stuff?
Oh, easy peasy. Look, I got plenty of social media, but the main thing if people want to look up is just open up your phone, go to your app store, Breathwork in Bed. Okay. First days, first 28 days is free. You can just see if it works for you. I'm pretty sure it will. And yeah, all you got to do is tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and we take care of the rest.
Perfect. Perfect. Love it. All right, brother, we're going to get you out of here so you can make that other appointment. But thank you for everything you did here today. You're amazing. And this stuff sounds pretty cool. So looking forward to trying it, man. All right. Gentlemen, this has been another absolutely awesome episode of the Power Man Podcast. And, the reason that we bring powerful men like this on here with such powerful messages is because we're united in helping you get your power back so that you can be a better provider, better protector, better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can be a better man, better husband, better father tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want that for you is because you matter. It's because you have value. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.